So NetEase has finally dropped their long-awaited matchmaking video. And there's a lot of people right now that either feel extremely vindicated and they're going, "I told you so," and screaming it from the rooftops, or there's a lot of people that just think it was all BS and don't believe them. But regardless, let's go ahead and talk about it. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark. I'm here on a Friday afternoon, and I have to apologize to you all. I usually try to get these videos out earlier than this, but being a parent right now is like one of the most hectic times, just because school starts for at least us. I know there's a lot of people that have started school earlier and stuff, but for us where I'm at, it doesn't start until Monday. So been a lot of like going back and forth to open houses and going out getting the kids school clothes and shoes and all that kind of jazz, and just school supplies, just all the normal stuff with parenting. I don't want to bore you with that. I'm just letting you all know why this video is going to be dropping a little bit later than they normally do for the people that are usually here on the channel and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So a lot of people sent me a lot of stuff in my Discord, and that's another thing that I just want to add really quick too. We are going to be doing another PC versus console tournament. A lot of people that feel some type of way about the last video that I made, where I was saying that there is a bit of a skill difference on console versus PC, and that's not to create some kind of like animosity. I played on a console for multiple decades before I switched over to PC. That's just something that I noticed, but I do feel like people should be able to show and prove whether that's actually a thing. PC took the last tournament, but I do think that we should bring in some new people. So if you're not part of the Discord, you can find the link to that in the bio under, where you see my logo. Next to that, you'll see where it says more info. You click that and you'll see a link to the Discord. We currently have like 1,100 people in there right now. They're in there active. We do customs and scrim matches. We have a ranking system, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I am going to be talking about that and relating it kind of to the matchmaking system with some things that I've noticed and stuff. But yeah, like I said, I just want to let people know that pretty soon, probably like another week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, we probably are going to do that. So if you're a console player and you feel like you're probably one of the best console players out there and you want people to put some respect in your name, I would highly recommend you joining the Discord and coming in before we go ahead and do that. So you don't have to worry about saying, "Oh, well, I didn't know you were doing that," et cetera, et cetera. So now let's talk about the matchmaking video. So I'm going to be completely transparent with you all, right? Because I feel like that's extremely important. And that's kind of what I've built my platform off of, is talking to you all like you're, people that can understand where I'm coming from and make points and just be straight up and be honest with you. I try to talk to you all like you're somebody that I know personally, like you're sitting in my office with me right now. I got the couch in the back, and we're just two people that are having a conversation. Obviously, you can't talk to me in real time, but at the same time, I try to treat these like they're just conversations and talks instead of them being like scripted videos or anything like that. Another thing I want to preface too is, even though this channel is primarily a Marvel Rivals channel, at no point in time do I cut them any slack. Whenever I see things with them, I call it out. If I say anything and it's kind of like in favor of them, that's just me being honest. And I try as hard as I can to be as unbiased as possible. I'm a human being at the end of the day. So naturally, I'm going to be biased by default with it when it comes to particular things and certain experiences that I've had. But for the most part, I try to just be straightforward and look at things from everybody's perspective and try to be as fair as humanly possible. Keyword try. So forgive me if there is anything where I say, "Hey, well, this is something that I've experienced," so et cetera, right? So with the video, a lot of people in Discord sent me a lot of different things. They sent me like a video from Flats where he covered it. There's a lot of you that tell me in the comments all the time that you watch, I forget his name, but it's something Rio or whatever. A lot of you say, "Oh, well, I watch you and this other guy, Rio." And salute to him, salute to Flats. I have zero problem with any other content creators. It's nothing but respect for them and love for them and stuff like that. Even if they're not someone that I watch or pay attention to, it's just, mutual respect, because it's how I want to be treated. And I don't promote any kind of like animosity, beef, or negativity toward any other creators. So the point that I'm making here is that a lot of them made a lot of good different points and stuff. And they've already kind of done the thing where they sit there and watch the NetEase video and they dissect every little thing. They're going through it, meticulously and pointing out this and talking about that. So that's already been done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of explain from my perspective of like things that I've noticed personally, even when it comes down to like the server and how things are handled. So I'll give you an example, right? When it comes to custom matches, which is something that we do pretty much every night in the server around 6 o'clock when everybody gets home. It's something that they love to do. They jump in customs, and everybody, we've gotten to the point to where the custom lobbies have gotten so big, we've reached maximum capacity, and we've had to start another lobby at the same time just to be able to have everybody be able to play and not have to wait all night to get in and out of these matches and stuff. And the thing is that it's interesting because we have people that are completely different levels. We have people that are one above all, and we have everything from that all the way down to people like my wife and other newer players that are bronze 3 that just started playing the game, or maybe they've been playing the game, but they just, they're far more casual. And we have everything in between, like myself, someone who's not one of the best players in the world, and I'm not one of the worst players. I'm somewhere right there in between, right? So when it comes down to these custom matches, one of the biggest problems with the custom matches that we have is that we have to really pay attention to the balancing. And the more people that come in, which people, they come in by the boatload. Some days it's, 20 or 30 people join. Some days it's, close to 100 people that join, and they all come in, and people come in, they're competitive. Even if they're lower skilled in between or higher skilled players, people are naturally competitive. They want to jump in. They want to, prove how good they are or how good they think they are, whatever the case is. And like I said, one of the biggest problems is balancing that. Now, most people would think, well, you can just look at the rank that they are. Well, the problem with that is that you have some people that maybe at one point they were like Celestial or Eternity or something like that, right? But then this season, they haven't really played rank at all because they don't really care. They have nothing to prove. They've already reached like whatever they feel like their peak rank is or whatever, and they're just kind of in the server hanging out, having fun, playing quick play or casual matches or whatever. So they might actually be like a Celestial or an Eternity player, maybe even one above all, but their current rank is like Platinum or Gold or something like that because they just haven't played rank. So a lot of times you'll think that the matches are balanced, but then you go to click play and one team just gets absolutely steamrolled because naturally there's just more skilled players on one side than there is the other. And even in these custom matches, people do not like that. There's been times where people have gotten upset, they've rage quit, they've just left, and they come back the next day and they say, I'm sorry, we just got steamrolled so bad that it triggered me and I just rage quit. Or, people start to go back and forth and we got to kind of go, hey, everybody, this is supposed to be fun, et cetera, et cetera. It's just naturally how things go. When you have 100 people all trying to like play together at the same time and people are on different things. Sometimes people have gotten off of work or school. They had a long day. They were triggered. Maybe their boss was breathing down their neck all day and they jump on the game and they're just trying to relax and play casually, and everybody else is trying to play competitively. Somebody starts to get, just maybe they're trying out a new character and they're trying to learn that character. Maybe a buddy of mine's going, maybe he's normally a Squirrel Girl main and then he's trying to play Hawkeye, and then somebody else pulls out their Lords because they're trying to show off or go higher in the ranking system that we have in our own Discord server. And even with that, that's a whole other thing that we had to start doing. At first, the matches were supposed to just be fun. The scrims that we were having, even though obviously scrims by default are supposed to be more competitive, I tried to make the server a place where it was fun, where everybody of all different skill levels, whether you're a guy, girl, regardless of your age, as long as it was obviously legal age and up and stuff like that, I wanted you to be able to come to this server, make friends, actual friends, not just come in there and just play with people and be toxic and stuff. I didn't want any of that. I wanted people to just be able to have fun and have a good time. And like I said, as time has went on, people have started to, from playing with each other every single day and actually becoming friends, they've started to realize who the higher ranking players are in the lobby. Even if they're people that don't normally play ranked, there's some people that are just really, really good naturally. Some people that are good because they've put more time and energy into the game, etc. And there's some people that, they might play every single day, but they never really get past like a silver or gold level or whatever, right? And we, like I said, everything in between. So at one point, one of our mods, Fade, he started making a ranking system for people, because when we had scrims the first time, what one of the people in the server did was they went and they basically gathered all the people that were the best people, and then everyone else just kind of was left. So anytime that anyone went against this one particular team, they just got the floor wiped with them. And it was not a fun experience. It wasn't fun to watch. It wasn't fun to go through it or deal with it. And it created, put a bad taste in the people in the server's mouth. So what we did was I gave Faye permission to create a ranking system that you had to opt in. You had to consent to be able to do this. And, we basically have like upper moons, like, lower moons, mids, lowers, et cetera, right? It's basically just like how there's a ranking system in here. And that way it became more fair. So that way, when we made scrims, it's like, well, you can only have one of these upper moons. You can only have, one of these people or whatever per team. So that way it's more balanced. So when you're talking about matchmaking in a game like this, that's one level of difficulty to be able to do. Even when you just have like a Discord server and you think it's supposed to be chill, there are so many different factors that go into it. And a lot of times before we even can start a match, there's a 2 to 3 minute period where we're trying as hard as we can to say, well, we shouldn't put these people together on a team because that's just going to be too broken of a matchup. Even if it's just these two people, that's just too much. So we got to separate that. But then what about this person over here? And then you start running into other problems. Last night we were playing, and at one point, I hear somebody go, "We can't put use this team because there's no one on this team that plays healer." I'm thinking to myself, the hell, as a flex player, that's wild to me. It's like, what do you mean you can't play healer? Like, there's a lot of people out here that just have never even attempted to play that role before. And the same exact thing happens a lot of other times with a lot of, other teams and mix-ups that we have in regards to the people in the server, where different problems arise based off of the fact that there might be some people that like all they know how to play really is Magic or Psylocke or something like that. And these are all issues. The reason why I'm saying this is because these are all issues that you would run into with the matchmaking for Marvel Rival in general. And there's so many other factors too that go into it, like location and time of day, just all these different things that go into it. And basically, NetEase, they didn't come out and say, well, they specifically said we don't use EOMM. And the problem with that in itself is that we've become too locked in on saying the EOMM is exactly what it is, when really it's more just like the type of matchmaking. It's not that like you can put a specific name on it. It's just the type of matchmaking. And it's more like, are there certain things that are being done deliberately? Now, the thing is that I always try to preach on the channel that two things can be true at the same exact time, right? Basically, you can have people that load into a match and the matchmaking has done as good of a job as it can of trying to match up similar skilled players or whatever the case is. But then you have the human factor, right? Because we're human beings and we're unpredictable. Like we at any given time can have a number of different things go wrong. Maybe your dog gets sick or something. You're trying to finish out the match, but you're kind of monitoring him and paying attention to him, and your mind is not fully locked in. Maybe you just started playing a new character and you're not as good at that character as you are at another character. Maybe matchmaking puts you in with people that automatically kind of take your favorite character that you're the best at, right? Let's say you only play Wolverine and there's another guy in there that picks Wolverine. And maybe he's not as good as you, but he just got to Wolverine first and he doesn't feel like switching, and you just kind of go, oh, you know what, I'll play this other DPS that I'm not as good with. And everyone else on the enemy team is, it just so happens that when they link up and go to select their characters, they're all picking characters that they know inside and out, that they don't have to think about, And there's just, like I said, I could go on all day about all these different factors that can happen in matchmaking to make it seem like it's one-sided and it's skewed. Now that I've kind of like explained that and I've talked about it from NetEase's point of view, I also have to say, just being fair and unbiased, that to think that NetEase does not possess the information that we know that they possess, you have to think about something here, right? A video game collects all the information and data. It's not like they're like, oh, well, we don't look at your stats. We don't see who you main more than others, right? Right now, you can go to anybody's profile and you can tell right away who they play the most. Can't we? We click on your profile. We go to whatever your stats are, right? And we can see, okay, this person has 69% of their time put on Magic or whatever, right? And then the second most played character might be Emma. And then after that, third most played character is Luna Snow or whatever, right? We know this information. We can see it. You can see it when you look on your own profile. You can look at other people as long as they haven't had their stuff hidden. And even when you hide it, you're only hiding it from the public. You're not hiding it from NetEase. Like, they know this information. And a lot of people are really naive when it comes to that. And they go, oh, well, how would they know this? Brother, what do you mean, how would they know it? It's just information. It's just zeros and ones in the game that they created that they can go into at any given time and do whatever they want to. It's not a secret. It's not like you're capable of hiding anything that you've ever done in this game from them. They know what you're saying. They know what you're typing. They know who you're more likely to and prone to use 90% of the time, what role that is exactly, what character from that role. They know. They even have other little random information, probably like what time of day you're more likely to play or what days of the week and what game mode you favor. Just any piece of information that you could possibly think of, they're aware of it. Now, is there a guy that's sitting there behind the screen, like some dungeon master that's sitting there like meticulously going through everybody's information? Like, no, but the algorithm is fully aware. Now, the problem comes in with when people start to get into the more fringe ideas where, they say, oh, well, anytime it's time for a rank up game or anytime that, I've won 3 matches, now they're purposely going to start to give me people that they feel like are going to throw the game. That's where I feel like people really start to kind of like separate and disagree on. And that's where we start to get into what's known as like the fringe territory, where it's like the really high level conspiracy theory concepts where we're just kind of like, yeah, no, they're doing all this purposely and they're doing it to keep us in the game. Now, with that, I don't really know. And they didn't come out and say that they do that or that they don't necessarily do that. They kind of hinted at like, we know who your roles are and your mains are, which to me, that's not something they would even have to say because that's just common sense. Of course they know that. Why would they not know it? They would have to, turn their face away and not pay it any attention. I mean, obviously they know, and it's not hard to say, well, if we put 5 people that all play tank in a match, the likelihood of them winning against a team that is more balanced, that we put 2 strategists, 2 DPS, and 2 supports in, that's just obviously going to work. But the counter argument to that is that I've been saying this for a while. The numbers for Marvel Rivals are slowly dwindling because people, when you create a game that is like an actual team-based game, because there's a lot of games out here that have the illusion of being a team-based game. Call of Duty is one of those. Call of Duty, you can carry by yourself. You don't need your teammates to be good. You can load into squads and you could try to depend on your teammates, but you could also solo wipe. Everybody has the same stuff. It's not like you need a healer or you need a tank or you need any of this other stuff. You can use the same thing that anybody else is using. You have the same health as everybody else. You have the same ability to gather shields and put those shields in and just all that stuff. If somebody's using a meta loadout, you can make that identical loadout. Even if there's a skin or something and it's broken, you could just put that skin on. It's not like, you're like, oh, well, my tanks weren't creating space or my healers weren't healing me. Brother, you heal by yourself. There's even things that you could put in your loadout, stim shots, that would make you heal even faster. It's just there is no like real excuse when it comes to that. But in this game, you actually do have to depend on other people. So there are ways that like things can be manipulated in that sense. Now, is that saying that they're actually doing that? Or maybe it's just coincidence? We don't really know. But at the same time, though, the numbers are going down. So when you're talking about matchmaking and you're talking about realistically, there's a trade-off. This was one of the things that I did not like about Overwatch. See, in something like Call of Duty, you press, like you guys think you have quick queue times in this. You have no idea. In COD, you press a button, 5 seconds later, 10 seconds later, you're in a match. It's just that simple. Boom. And you're talking about putting upwards of 100 people, 120, 150. I don't know how many they put in the lobbies now. They usually start out like around 100 when the game first resets every year, and then they take it up to about 150 by the time that it's done for that year. And that's just to make sure the servers don't go crazy initially. But the point I'm making is that they put a lot of people in one lobby at a time, and boom. And they actually use skill-based matchmaking. So you're only going up against people that are on like relatively your same kind of level. It's not like a thing where it's exactly like if you got a 2.3, everybody's a 2.3. It's more like there's like brackets where it's like, maybe 1.5 KD up to like 2.7 or 3 KD or something like that. But there's still like these brackets, there's like kind of like protected areas of like, you're only going to go against people that are similar to your skill level. So it's more fair. And they do that for the lower skill players because they're more likely to rage quit when they go up against people that are far better than them, and that's why they tend to stay at lower KD levels because they're just kind of casual and loading in to have fun. This game, we've assumed that they've been using EOMM. We feel like they're feeding us losses and feeding us wins, and I do believe that there could be some stuff in the algorithm that they're not telling us about because at the end of the day, it's a $1 billion company. Companies usually don't come out and give away. I'll give you an example, right? When The whole thing with TikTok happened, and this is relevant. So just give me a moment here, right? When the whole thing with TikTok happened, when the TikTok ban was happening, right? You can believe whatever you want to believe. You can say, oh well, it was Chinese-owned company and they were stealing all our information, brother. You know how many things are owned by China that we use in America every day that nobody has any problem with? But TikTok, that was a problem though, and in my opinion, it was because TikTok got very political. And once it got political, they were like, you know what? America was like, you know what? We want control over this. Why would you not? As a country, why would you not want to have control over a tool that you see the younger generation is using? And even if you feel like, you know, whether they're being brainwashed by it or you just feel like it's a really good tool to get your message across, whatever the reasoning is, why would you not want control over that? So long story short, when TikTok said, listen, we'll give you ownership of TikTok. We'll sell it to you, but we're not going to give you the algorithm. It was a problem. Now, why would they say we'll give you the whole thing, but we're not going to give you the algorithm? Because the algorithm is the bread and butter. That's what's so important. I can make a TikTok app right now. I can go ChatGPT and say, yo, make me a TikTok clone. But you know what I can't clone though? The actual algorithm. How TikTok has the ability to just keep you swiping for hours. That thing is like a drug, man. Like you get on there. I'm saying it's like one. I'm not saying it is YouTube. Don't sit here and demonetize me. The thing is like when you get on there, you start swiping. The more that you pay attention to stuff, the more you comment on stuff, the more you like stuff, it starts to lock in exactly what you're going to like. And every video seems to get better than the last one. That's why people sit on there and they get brain rot from it because they just can't get off. It starts to know you better than you know yourself. Algorithms are getting ridiculously good and intricate. And if you think that gaming companies didn't get on that bandwagon years and years ago, not just like it's just happening now, for the last decade, gaming companies have been like, yo, we need these algorithms in our game. How can we keep these people on this game for as long as humanly possible? It is a business. And we're not just talking about a small, a food stand truck on the corner type of business. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars that this stuff is bringing in. Most of you would sell your soul for a couple Big Macs. You think that these people ain't going to sit here and be quiet about, what's going on behind closed doors when billions of dollars are involved? You're out of your mind. I'm gonna be real with you. Now, I'm not saying that is what it is. There are so many different factors. The human factor is a massive factor. Like I said, I've seen it in my own Discord server firsthand how hard it is to matchmake, even when you know these people, because people are unpredictable. People will start target banning in custom matches, and they'll see me and they'll go, you know what, we're gonna ban Emma because we know he likes to play Emma. Buddy, I got Thor. I'll pull out another tank. People will say, oh, well, we're going to ban Cloak and Dagger because he likes to play Cloak and Dagger. I'll pull out Spider-Man. I'm unpredictable. I'm a wild card. I'm a master of nothing, but I'm a jack of all trades, though. You get what I'm saying? And if I feel like they're starting to really figure out what I'll really go to in whatever role it is, I'll take a couple days off of customs. I'll go learn something new and then come back with that. But that's how I am. Not everybody is like that. Some people are only going to play a certain role, and that can present its own problems. If you start to get multiple people on the same team to only run Psylocke, what do you think is going to happen? There's going to be one good Psylocke on the team, but then two other roles are going to suffer. Because now you got somebody who's going to play support, and they never touched support in their life. Now it's GG no heals. Which, by the way, I got those T-shirts coming pretty soon. So, if that's something you're interested in, just keep an eye on the channel, right? GG no heals, right? All different colors. Long sleeves, hoodies, hats, all that good jazz. But the point I'm making, though, is that there are so many different things when it comes to human beings that even if you try to make I'm not saying that they do or that they don't. I'm just saying even if they try to actually make matchmaking as fair as humanly possible, you cannot predict what is going to happen with different people. I was in a match a couple weeks back, and the match was really intense. It was really close. All of a sudden, my mom calls me. I'm going to just keep it real with you. My mother calls me, and she calls me past like 9 o'clock at night. I'm picking up the phone. I want to see what's wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm the patriarch of my family. So if she's calling me, I'm assuming it's for a reason. Now, granted, she was just calling me to tell me about a trip that she had taken that weekend. But what I'm going to tell my mom? Yo, Mom, I'm in the middle of a match. I'll call you back later. My mother don't understand none of that. I can tell her a million times how the game works, that I'm a content. She's like, yeah, anyway, back to what I was saying. That's my mother. But she also gave birth to me. And I was a preemie. So, like at one point they gave her the paper like, yo, listen, if something goes wrong, whose life do you want us to save? And she said mine. without even thinking about it. You don't get love like the way that your mother is going to love you. So when it comes to anything that she wants, even if it's just a vent or to talk or tell me about her day, game's got to take a back seat. I ain't about to leave, but I'm going to take my headset off and I'm going to try to genuinely listen to what she's saying. So point I'm making is that I was able to play the game, but at the same time, though, was I really playing the game at 100%? No. The game was getting like 70%. My mom was getting the other 30 in regards to me listening to what she had to say. And that's just one example of 1,000 more that I could make in regards to just myself. Maybe sometimes you sit down, you start playing a game, you're having a good time, and all of a sudden, maybe the McDonald's you just had starts hitting your stomach. That Taco Bell starts hitting different, right? You're just like, oh man, woo. You start sweating, right? Life is crazy. We're human beings. We're not perfect. I'm just being real with you all. Things happen. But like I said before, two things can be true at the same time. Do I honestly think that NetEase is this perfect? Guys, listen, we're just doing this for the love of the game. We're being so honest. And that's another thing. A lot of people will sit back and they'll say, oh, well, guys, they're being honest with us. They're really just opening the door up and showing us how it's going. Listen, you know how I look at that? It's like lying by omission. It's kind of like, now that I'm married, I'm a different guy. But when I was younger, I wasn't the best person, right? Maybe you go out on the weekends, you got a girlfriend, she's like, oh, babe, have a good time. You're going out, your boyfriend, whatever it is that you're into. Me personally, though, I always had girlfriends. So, it's like you have a girlfriend, you're going out for the weekend, and, you go out, maybe you have one too many or something. You get a little loosey-goosey, you know what I mean, with someone of the opposite sex. Or the same, whatever it is you're into. There's no judgment here, right? It's 2025. Live your best life. But, for me personally, it was the opposite sex. You get into something, right? And then you come home and they go, well, how was your weekend, right? And you go, oh, yeah, just hung out, had some drinks with some friends or whatever, just relax, blah, 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 yada, 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 right? And you leave out the part where, you slipped up and you messed up, right? You leave that part out. And you say, well, technically, I wasn't lying. I just didn't say the part where, I hooked up with somebody else or whatever, right? That's lying by omission. And that's kind of like how I feel about companies like this. They're going to come out and they're going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to say the good parts and they just leave out the bad. They don't directly come out. Like they can say we don't use EOMM. Somebody told me they were like EOMM is actually owned by like EA or something. So like technically you can't say you use EOMM. But that's kind of like that's like the difference between Coke owns Coca-Cola or whatever the main company is. I guess it's Coca-Cola is like the overall company. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. I don't really get into sodas like that. But it's like you got Coca-Cola, right? How many variations of Coca-Cola exist? They don't taste exactly like Coca-Cola, but they taste damn near close enough, right? You got the great value Coca-Cola. You got the, whatever. It's the same thing with cereals. You know how many variations of Frosted Flakes they got? And they all kind of feel like they're missing that one little ingredient that makes it Frosted Flakes, but they taste pretty close enough to where you'll be like, you know what? I could just get a giant bag of these off-brand Frosted Flakes for like $7, or I could pay $7 for one like tiny box of like the actual Frosted Flakes. And you can choose to do either one, But I'm not going to lie to you. Like when it comes to buying multiple cereals, a lot of times I seldom get like the actual name brand. Every once in a while I do, when it comes to certain ones. Like my son really likes, the Reese Cup one or whatever. I just like the other ones just taste too horrible to get anything else. But with stuff like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, usually like the off-brand ones, they taste so similar. You're like, who cares, right? So, it's stuff like that. But, like I was saying, though, when it comes to like EOMM, does it have to exactly be EOMM, or can it just be something that is extremely close to it, but it's just missing that secret ingredient, right? Just changed up enough to where it's not technically EOMM. And do they have to admit that? No. They probably feel like they was already being nice enough addressing it for you all when they really didn't have to do that to begin with. Because I'll be real with you, take games like Call of Duty, they actually were using skill-based matchmaking. It wasn't like they were like, oh, well, we're not using skill-based matchmaking. And then they come out and like, well, we're using something that's kind of like similar to it. But it's very straightforward. It's like, look, we match y'all up with people that are similarly skilled to you. Because if you take a 0.7 KD player and you throw them in one of Dark's lobbies where everybody's bunny hopping, drop shotting, slide canceling, all that kind of stuff. Everybody's got mastery camos fully on every single thing in the game. And they get it as soon as it comes out and no life this game. You're going to rage quit. That's just how it is. Nobody wants to load into the game and get dumpstered on. So to think that they don't put stuff into games with the matchmaking to manipulate them to some extent. I mean, if you believe in that, man, I got a condo, beachfront property that I can sell you, and a bridge too. I'm joking. But the point I'm making is that like you gotta think a little bit here. And I get it. There's a lot of people that they feel like, oh, well, I can't sit here and say that the game is holding me back because as I've gotten better, I progress. That is true. Once again, two things can be true at the same time. Even if there was EOMM, and it's not that there actually is EOMM, let's just say whatever type of matchmaking manipulation. Let's just start saying that instead of EOMM, right? Matchmaking manipulation, just MM, right? Whatever that version of it that is in the game, different people are going to experience it differently, and different people are going to blame it different amounts for like what's happening. Everybody who's listening to this video right now has went on a losing streak. Now, why you went on that losing streak can vary. There's been times where I went on losing streaks because I was just selling. Maybe I was trying a new character. Maybe I was rage queuing because I was like, you know what? I'm mad because I had this happen in the last 3 games or whatever, but I'm just going to keep loading up because I feel like, this can only happen to me so many times before the shoe is on the other foot type of thing. So kind of like, people that are gambling addicts. So like, yeah, I just lost the last eight hands or whatever. But, by the laws of probability, I got to eventually win one of these, right? And then before you know it, your whole life savings is gone. And like I said, there's been times where it was me, and there's been times where there was nothing that I could have done. Nothing else that I could have done any better or any more. I tried as hard as I possibly could, gave it everything I had, but then I had a teammate who got mad at another teammate because he said, yo, can you switch off Loki? And the guy just sat there in the spawn, just shooting the floor for the whole time so he didn't get kicked from the match. I had Groot wall me into spawn. Jeff's eat me off of point when I was the only one and it was in like double overtime or something, right? Like I have seen pretty much everything that you can see in this game in regards to things going wrong either because of you or because of other teammates. The difference is how honest are you with yourself? See, me, I'm only going to blame an outside factor so much before I'm like, okay, what can I do? Because at the end of the day, the only thing that I can control is what I can control. Is that always going to work? No, but it has overall made me a better player, and it's gotten me to higher places than I would have initially. Like I've said before, when I first started this game, I was in bronze, just like anybody else. I started out in bronze. I was like, yo, this is hard. People are actually trying in this. This is way different than quick play. Oh, we got to switch sides now. Oh, there's overtime. Oh, there's this, that, and third. Okay, boom. Then you get up to silver and you're like, okay, the stuff I was doing in bronze is not working anymore. I got to figure out new tricks, new things to do. Then you get up into gold. And it's like, oh, man, I got so used to just being able to ult as Cloak and Dagger and nobody bothered me. Now I got Magnetos and Iron Man shooting me. I didn't even know that was a thing that they could shoot me out of my ult. Hawkeyes shooting me mid-ult. Like these are things that you have to learn as time goes on. A lot of people will just throw their hands up and go, oh, my God, I just got to ban Magneto. Brother, they're going to find other tricks to do. I just named 3 people that can shoot you out of your ult. You can only ban 2. Now what are you going to do? Well, now you got to figure out how to ult without getting deleted, right? That takes you to the next level. Then you get up to plat. You're like, okay, man, there's some hellas in here. Got some decent aim. I mean, they're not goated or anything, but, they got some decent aim. I can't just, stand around. I got to move around a little bit more. I got to really pick angles and stuff and really be smart about how I handle things. Then you get up to diamond, and it's like, okay, wait, these hellas are actually cracked. Wait, right? And et cetera, et cetera. As you go up, it just continuously gets more and more difficult. And you have to increase your skill level with the difficulty. Now, with EOMM or the matchmaking manipulation, yeah, it might say, oh, he's about to rank up. Yeah, throw him some teammates that ain't really about nothing real quick and then put him up against a full stack or whatever the case is, right? That's where you have to really go Super Saiyan. We see that all the time. It's like Goku's fighting. He's doing everything. He's giving it everything he got. He thinks, oh, man, this is about to be curtains for me. What else am I going to do? And then he just goes, you know what? Super Saiyan ain't enough. I might have to go Super Saiyan 2. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, until he reaches this form that we just go, oh, man, he's like, destroyer level powerful. And then he gets even more powerful than that. And he just keeps going, and keeps going. That's how you have to look at yourself. You have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, the matchmaking is only going to hold me back so far. There's a reason why certain people get to certain ranks every season. I've never finished a season, even when I barely played the rank, I've never finished a season lower than plat. That's because that's where I belong at right now. I've gotten a diamond before, but plat is like where I get to comfortably. It's when I get to plat and I start getting up to that diamond area that it's like, okay, now I got to really pull out all the tips and tricks that I know. Pretty soon, I'll be a GM player. You get what I'm saying? And et cetera, until the point to where I'll be able to reach Eternity Celestial comfortably. And it's the same thing with you all. If you're stuck in a certain rank, try to be honest with yourself and figure out what it is exactly that you could be doing better to get to that next level, because somebody else is doing it. It's not like oh, well, they're just lucky and I'm not. No, that's not how it is. They go through the same stuff you go through. They go through loss streaks just like you do. Now, a lot of people will try to sit in your face and tell you every game could have been a win if you would have done something different. That is actual cap, bro. If you get throwers on your team and multiple people are not doing anything on your team, please stop. That might work like in really low lobbies like bronze or silver or something like that, where you can just easily carry, even if in those lobbies, I've had people completely leave and I was still able to carry as a support. Eventually you get to a point where that is just not happening anymore. So that's nonsense. And I don't even want to hear or even, just talk about a nonsense like that. And like I said, the video I just noticed 35 minutes now. It feels like I've been talking for like 5 minutes, because the problem with stuff like this is you're talking about extremely complex topics that there's so many different variables and situations that I could sit here and just keep saying, I had this happen one time and then this happened and this happened. And this is just for me. If I was to get 10 of you that are watching this video right now to come in, you'd probably all have numerous different things that you could bring to my attention. And I go, I didn't even think about that. There's multiple things I haven't even had time to mention that when I was listening to these other videos and stuff that I was thinking like, yeah, I want to talk about that. I want to bring up something about that. But the video would end up being 2 hours long. And I know some of you say, listen, you can make an 8-hour video and I'd listen to it. And then you got the other people like, why was this more than 30 seconds? Seek help, whoever those people are. Please seek genuine help. Like, brain is mush now, man. You need to talk to somebody about that. But like I was saying, that you could go on all day going back and forth. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to accept that this is the best that we're going to get with this. Yeah, they might make some changes in the future, but you got two options here. And I've had to do it with games in the past. It was the same thing with COD. I kept waiting on them and waiting on them and waiting on them to take care of hackers. I thought there's no way that they can have this many hackers in the game, just to the point to where every streamer has a hacker counter under like their camera or whatever, like on the screen. Like they have like a hacker counter, and it's like they'll play 3 games. It's like they're already up to like 30 or whatever, because it's that bad. It's just it's crazy, to the point to where as much time as I invested, whole channel that was built off of it, multiple channels, TikTok and on YouTube, and I had to completely change. And it was for the better, because I much prefer the community that I've built from Marvel Rivals than the one that I had from Call of Duty. So that's one thing. But like, you all will have to get to a point where you make the decision. Listen, I either want to deal with this or I don't. And if you don't want to deal with it, that's your right, man. Gaming should be fun, unless you're only trying to be someone who plays competitively. That's not going to be fun for you, because it's going to be competitive. So you're going to be constantly pushing yourself to your limits and constantly going up against people that are better than you, and you having to get up to that level. So that's not really going to be what's considered fun. But ultimately, if you are someone who is casual and you do play games that just have fun, you have that right to just play whatever you want to play. You don't have to just play this game. But if you do decide to continue to play this game, knowing whatever it is that we do know and not knowing what we don't know about it, the only thing, and I hate to sound like a lot of these other guys, but the only thing that you can control is yourself. That's it. And you are not, whoever is listening to this, I don't care how good you are, you're not as good as your full potential. You have not reached it yet. I don't care how good you are. There is someone out there who has diffed you. You have been beaten before. You are not perfect. I see it every day. People join the server and they think, yo, I'm the most goated at this. I'm the most goated at that. And they get diffed by somebody in the server, and it's like, oh, humbling experience. And ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. There's people in the server who thought they were the best at something, and then somebody comes in and they're like, yeah, I only play this game like 2 days a week. And they get diffed on a character they play all day, every day. I don't care who you are or what it is you do. There is someone out there that is better than you. And you should always, as long as you are breathing and you woke up this morning, you should always be trying to get better. What else is there to do in life besides that? When it comes to anything where you're trying to compete, Even if it's just more like casual competition. Why wouldn't you try to get better? Why not? Right? But sitting around going, oh, woe is me. You know, if it wasn't for this matchmaking system, I'd be one above all, or I'd be eternity or whatever. Like, but the people do it. And they do it without full stacking. Do some people have to stack to do it? Yeah. But it's a little more obvious when that happens. But you do have people out here who just keep pushing themselves until they get to a point to where they get to wherever it is that they want to get to. It's just that simple. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up, though. But let me know in the comments what you all think about the matchmaking video. Do you think people are still just kind of like coping and they're, you know, still blaming like the boogeyman and matchmaking? Do you believe that NetEase kind of like omitted some things and you know, there is matchmaking manipulation going on behind the scenes? Do you think that it's mostly just human error? Like, do you think all these things are true? You know, just let me know in the comments, because I am curious. Like I said, I don't know everything. You know, a lot of you that watch these videos, you're far more intelligent than myself, and you have far more knowledge of games like this, hero shooters, because this is like one of my first main like hero shooters that I actually played and regularly put time and energy into. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff that you all can bring to the table that you know, and you know, like I said, if you haven't joined the Discord, I really recommend joining the Discord. A lot of times the comments, I can only respond to like the first 100 or so, and then after that, it just kind of gets to a point to where, you know, I peek in every now and again, respond to whatever, and then go back to my business. But it's far easier to talk to me in the server, especially like, you know, around like 6:30, 7 o'clock on most days, not all the time, but for the most part, I'm usually jumping in the customs, you know, for a little bit. I definitely, whenever there's scrim matches, I do that. We hold stages and stuff that sometimes I turn into videos. So there's just so many different things. Not to mention my DMs are open on Discord. So, you know, you can DM me whenever. I may not see that right away, but usually within 24 hours, at the most 2 days, I'll see it and can kind of like, you know, respond to it, whatever the case is. In worst case, you can just ping me in the server, right? You can just say @dark, right? And whenever I get back on, I see it. So like I was saying, that's definitely something that you all want to do. And do not forget, like I said, pretty soon, the next probably 2 weeks here, we're going to do another PC versus console tournament. So if you're somebody who feels like you're like a really high ranked console player, and, you know, because we already have plenty of people. I mean, we have plenty of people that play both in the server, but there's far more, I feel like, higher ranked PC players than there are console players. So I would like to kind of balance that out. So if you think you're about that life and you got something to prove, you know, yeah, definitely go ahead and join up, and we'll try to go ahead and get all that situated. And that'll be something that I'll live stream as well. And then I'll probably make a follow-up video kind of, you know, going over it and talking about it and things that I notice and differences and stuff like that. So I'm going to wrap this video up. I do appreciate everybody for listening. I'm Father Dark, and I'll catch you on the next one.